South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has been defending some controversial passages in her forthcoming book, No Going Back. She faces scrutiny over a couple of anecdotes, including a claim about a meeting with Kim Jong-un and a story about killing her dog, Cricket. Now, I'm watching the liberal media folks have a field day over trying to take down a potential Trump vice president pick. But Kristi Noem has never been afraid to defend her record. So let's bring her in right now, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, really good to have you. Governor, listen, yesterday you were on CBS's political show, Face the Nation, where, as you point out accurately, the host, Margaret Brennan, interrupted you 36 times in a 15-minute interview. Governor, I've known you a long time. I know you're a mom. I know you're a follower of God. I know you can quote the Bible. Meanwhile, because of the story, the leftist media has you out there killing Fido. I'm going to give you a minute or so to tell your side of this story without interrupting you. Please.
Well, I'll tell you what, my book that is being released tomorrow, No Going Back, is a story about how we're not going back to the way politics used to be, that it is a book that is incredibly important. It's a how-to guide for the American citizen about how they can get involved in their government and politics, and it tells a lot of vulnerable stories of my life, of tough decisions that I've had to make over time. And I know that a lot of the liberals and even some Republicans and some Democrats are attacking me over a story that was in there. And literally, Eric, the whole decision was 20 years ago. It was choosing between the safety of my little kids and the public and protecting them versus a dangerous animal that was killing livestock and attacking people. And so I talk about that decision and I put it in the book because I want them to know that most politicians, they hide from the truth. They run away from making tough decisions, and I don't do either of those. I take my responsibility. I don't ask anybody else to do the tough decisions and make those hard decisions for me.
Governor, in hindsight, do you regret putting that story or anything else in your book?
You know, I think that in South Dakota, in the last couple of elections that I've had, my political opponents have tried to use this story and tried to use it against me. I wanted people to know the truth. That's why it's in the book. I want people to know the truth of the story, how hard it was for me, how difficult it was, and that it is something that, you know, I had to choose between the safety of my children versus this dangerous animal, and I chose my children. I think any mom and any grandma put in that situation would find it just as difficult, but would still always choose family and making sure that they're taking responsibility. I don't ask other people to do hard jobs for me. That's what this book is about. It's about the fact that it talks about how Donald Trump broke politics. You know, when he came onto the scene, he was a very different kind of a candidate. He was himself. He was genuine and real. He didn't pretend to be perfect, and I appreciated that about him. We're not going back to the old politics where these people that were in elected positions, you know, think they're better than the American people. And the American people, I think, appreciate honesty and genuineness, and they appreciate us telling them, you know, what our backgrounds and experiences are and how we make those tough decisions.
Governor, I've also written a couple of books, and I know how the process works. You write some chapters. You don't write the whole book at once. You write a chapter or two. You send it to the editors, and they edit. They read it. They add. They subtract. And here's my question. The editor. The editor, was she possibly a plant, a liberal plant? Because I'm not sure either one of these stories, the dog story, the North Korea story, seems like the Kristi Noem I know.
No, the buck always stops with me. I take my own full responsibility. I wrote this book, and I take the responsibility for what's in it. It's a great book, Eric. I hope everybody reads it and buys it. It's available tomorrow, No Going Back. It's a powerful book, and it tells a lot of things at the end of these chapters about really what people can do to get involved, that their voice matters, their vote matters, but also that it talks about money in politics and how that's an important part of politics, but it's being spent wrong, what they can do to push back on consultants who are in this game just to get rich, how their phone calls and their emails make a difference. This world is still run by people who show up, and that I will always fight for the people of South Dakota. I will always fight for the people that I'm elected to represent them and have the hard conversations that we need to protect our freedoms and our liberties.
Governor, I read part of it. I can't say I read the whole book, but I did read excerpts of it. I have the book. I read passages. It seems No Going Back points to something. I think that the title, correct me if I'm wrong, but points to something that maybe my audience, I think, really loves about you. No going back to the days of the Rhinos, the Romneys, the Roes, the Bushes. Please elaborate.
Oh, it's true. That's what I really believe is I hear so many people saying, oh, I wish we could go back to the days of politics the way they used to be in the 80s and the 90s. Well, the fact of the matter is that we're not. We're in a very different time and a different age, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we can recognize that people have flaws, that they're not perfect, but they still can serve and they can still make hard decisions that are important to really right the ship that has gone so far off the rails with Joe Biden in the White House. We need Donald Trump to be our president again. We absolutely do. He knows that I'll do anything I can to be helpful and make sure that he wins, because when he's in that White House, I as a governor get to be on offense and get to fight and defend for my people and their freedoms and their liberties. So, this book talks a lot, too, about the fact that we live in a country that loves to be offended by each other. They love to get offended by everything, and I'm asking people to get over it. To start talking to each other. When you have a diversity of opinions and backgrounds and experiences and political views around a table, you end up with better policy. You end up with better discussion, and we have to get back to civil discourse in this country so that we really can protect what our founders gave us.
Yeah, I read somewhere that, I think this is really fascinating, that you are actively working with the universities in your state, South Dakota, to be ready to deploy the National Guard. So if these pro-terrorist, anti-Israel agitators throw a bottle at a cop or whatever happens, they enter your campuses, you are going to be ready to deploy the National Guard to make things right. And I think a lot of people are just waiting to hear someone say something like that, Governor.
Yeah, when we started to see these protests start to happen around our college campuses, I got on the phone, had a conversation with my Board of Regents, with my university presidents, and talked to them about the fact that I didn't want to see anything like that happen in South Dakota. I wanted to hear what their plans were for protests and what their actions were going to be, the resources that I have and how our partnership needed to work. If we needed to have my state highway patrol law enforcement officers available to them, National Guard, an emergency operations center, that we weren't going to allow any kind of violence or hate speech or anything happen in South Dakota, and working in partnership with those university presidents proactively before anything happened. It was incredibly important, and they all got through their graduation ceremonies. Everything went well. We have had wonderful responses and families that were able to celebrate these times in these students' lives together and do it in a way that was celebratory, not something that was ugly like we're seeing on so many campuses.
Yeah, and arrests. I mean, a lot of people are saying that these kids, these people, agitators, most of them aren't even going to the schools that they're protesting on. If they're arrested in your state, will they be prosecuted?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we believe in upholding the law in South Dakota. There's consequences for breaking the law, and we have always done that in South Dakota. And when, back in 2020, when there was riots and protests across the country, we had one planned protest that started to turn the wrong direction, and as soon as the first bottle of water was thrown, we shut it down. We just don't allow that in South Dakota. You can peacefully protest in this country, but peacefully. As soon as it turns to any kind of violence whatsoever, we absolutely will not tolerate that. We must keep our community safe.
Well, we wish you luck on the book tour, Governor Kristi Noem. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for coming on The Balance.
Thank you, Eric.